magnificent morning, wonderful afternoon, and fantastic evening. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. I do too many of these in a week. I sometimes forget where I am. But today I am at MindPlore. And today we are talking about becoming aware of yourself and finding your own power. Because in truth be told, we are much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. Because we forget that we are connected with the whole universe just by the breath we breathe. Having said that, I want to welcome back Huzaifa Ahmed, who is, I believe, in Karachi. Am I right, Huzaifa? And he's an 11-year-old miracle that we are going to gain a great knowledge from, because really our kids know more than the adults in the world. I also want to welcome back Kamran Rizvi, who you know is a normal Thursday person, but he's been missing a little now that COVID is over. And it's making me sad because I can't get him every week, but he at least gets here once or twice a month. I want to welcome Gayathri. You cannot see Dr. Gayathri because she's having some electrical issues where she is, but she's going to be taking a very special role in this show because Jeanne will not be able to be here as regularly because she's going back to teach Spanish, which I question because she doesn't speak Spanish, but I'm sure she'll do a good job in a school in Sacramento. And of course, I am here every show. Having said that, I am very excited to talk about awareness and growing it. And the reason I love having children here is that children teach us as well as we teach them. It's a very important thing. Having said that, Jeanne, for the last time for a while, can you please introduce yourself and kick off the show?
Sure. Excuse me. Sure. Everybody knows I'm Jeanne Alford, and I am actually by trade a communications coach and personal coach, but I am also a teacher since we've had a shortage of teachers. Thank you, COVID. I heeded the call last spring, and I've been enjoying teaching our middle school level kids. So I'm off to start school again. Thank you. I do have a couple of quotes I want to share, and hopefully you'll see some interesting thoughts to kick off this discussion, which is growing your self-awareness and knowing your power. Daniel Goleman, who's an author and a psychologist, said, if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, you don't have self-awareness. If you're not able to manage your distressing emotions, you can't have empathy and have effective relationships. Then no matter how smart you aren't going very far. So that kind of shows you the importance of this subject of being self-aware and knowing your power. Deepak Chopra shares that by becoming self-aware, you gain ownership of reality. I like that, ownership of reality. In becoming real, you become the master of both your inner and your outer life. So there's a good balance there. And Michael Singer, who's a motivational speaker, wrote, only you can take inner freedom away from yourself or give it to yourself. Think about how powerful that is. Only you can take inner freedom from away from yourself or give it to yourself. Nobody else can. And Lao Tzu, one of my favorite philosophers, said at the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. And that's a very strong tenet in many religious philosophies. But here's the one I really wanted to share because I knew Cameron was going to be here. Don't accept your dog's admiration as conclusive evidence that you are wonderful. And that's from the great columnist Ann Landers. In other words, your dogs are going to love you no matter what, but not everybody. So you need to be self-aware and you need to be in charge. I love the idea that only you can give yourself inner freedom or you can take it away, because I often say you are in charge of only one thing in your life, and that is yourself. So, Huzaifa, does that make sense to you? I really want to hear from you because you're going to have an unfiltered, unbiased look at finding your inner wisdom and your own power.
Yes, you already said the quotes that one of the quotes that you said, I searched them up. But it is true that unless you know yourself, you cannot reach success. And you need to make yourself aware of who you really are. If you find yourself ignorant, then that's you. If you find yourself in the path of success, that's you. But first, to be anything, if you want to be a good person or a bad person, you need to become self-aware. And to gain wisdom, you need to truly know which sort of wisdom and what do you want. You have to learn to appreciate and accept your mistakes and to appreciate your good deeds for yourself before other people can appreciate and take out good things from you. Because as we know that in this world, most people always point out our mistakes, but we have to take the first step to be aware of our own selves and start doing what we really want.
You know, it's great to hear that coming from such a wise young one, because it is important and it's something we don't often get our head around until we're probably in our mid to late 20s, that, oh, I have the power to do this. Cameron, how does this, you are muted, I'm sorry, friend.
I'm mesmerized by Huzaifa Ahmed's rendition of awareness and the responsibility that it brings. I'm truly, truly delighted that I'm listening to our future.
It's crystal clear when it comes from him, don't you think? Crystal
Yes.
clear, because all of the stuff that we go through doesn't muck it up. So thank you, Huzaifa.
Thanks.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Gayathri, how does this stand with you?
I personally believe that when we talk about self-awareness, which I said even the previous time when we spoke about this subject, I think it is all about acceptance. The way we accept ourselves, the way we embrace our mistakes. I completely agree with whatever Huzaifa said, because that is exactly what I also believe. Personally, for me, it took a long time for me to realize that the easiest way, like the very easy way to transform myself into someone I wanted to be, is to just accept that, yes, there is something wrong with me. When somebody points out to you that, oh, you're doing this, that's not right, we feel agitated. We don't want to listen to it. We prefer to live in denial. And being in denial is also a state wherein you are slightly aware about what is happening with you. So far as you are aware that you are in denial, there is hope that you will come out of it. The problem is when you don't know that you are in denial, you are just in a phase wherein you think all that you're doing is right. Fortunately, by God's grace, even when I have been in denial, or even now when I'm in denial, somewhere deep down, I know the reality. And that reality of me knowing what is wrong with me and what I need to change in me, for me, that is self awareness. And to know that is me wielding the power, and I'm not giving that power to anyone else. It's my power, and it's under my control, it's under my influence, that I can change that. Awareness for me is that knowing what is wrong with us and then overcoming that.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe, the word wrong doesn't sit well with me, Dr. Gayatri, and it's not that it's the wrong word. It's just that I I like to interpret things like mistakes as lesson opportunities. If you make a mistake or you're not doing something right, it's not so much that you, the person, are wrong, but that you need to learn something. So
I think, yeah, sometimes what happens is, Jean, sometimes we get lost in the words as well. And when you come in the eastern part of the world, English is not first language here.
yes,
So all the affirmations, all those neuro linguistic programming sessions, they go out of the window. The reason why they go out of the window is that the moment you talk about lesson, they are not going to understand. For them to understand, you have to use the word mistake, because that's the only way they are going to understand what you're saying.
right. And
The
that's what,
word wrong. Yeah, the word wrong.
Can I add something here?
sure.
Yes,
And it's
Carla.
about words and the use of words. And we all think a little differently, and we all use words slightly different. I don't care if you're talking to your best friend or someone you've never met. We do not, no two people think exactly alike. So when we're using words, communication does get confusing. When Jeanne and I were talking about it and she used the word power, I was like, no, yeah, we have power, but the power goes deeper. And I really didn't want to use that word. However, I knew more people would identify using the word. So I think when we say wrong, right, or anything in between, no matter where we are talking or wherever we're speaking and whoever, we need to keep in mind that we may not understand it. I had a big argument with a friend the other day because of how someone had labeled a caption. And I kept on saying, this isn't literally just this person, it's everyone. And I'm having trouble understanding why you are so offended by it, because it didn't make sense to me. He couldn't explain it to me. I couldn't explain my feelings to him, and it stayed there. It was the only thing that could happen. Okay, ladies, you can.
I think that's a good point, Carla, and it's why we love MindPlore, because we get to explore this. And my purpose of saying that, Dr. Gayatri, was mostly because I like to see, for me, the word wrong is a black or white thing. You're right or you're wrong. And I believe that the world is filled with lots of shades of gray, and meaning that you might do something that's not the right way, but if there's a lesson to learn, then it's the right way at that time. So, trying to think of an example. Well, I'm going to start learning how to speak Spanish. I know enough Spanish to be dangerous, to be honest with you. I know enough to ask, where's the bathroom? Where's the water? So I wouldn't be lost if I were in a Spanish speaking country. I will bet you that I'm going to mispronounce words as I go through this process with the students. And there's going to be a student in my class who's going to say, "You're wrong." And I'll say, "Tell me how to say it." And then they'll say it, and then I'll figure it out. So to me, mistakes, we all make mistakes. And to become self-aware and learn from your mistakes and grow is where I'm coming from. I'd rather have people make mistakes and learn a lesson and move forward than don't make a move at all. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And that is exactly what I was saying. We see everything in different ways. And a student should be able to say to their teacher, "Hey, should it be this or should it be that?" in order for them to understand. Again, we're talking about communication. What is real communication? I don't know, yet I do conferences on it. I talk about it every day in the English class, and many times I need to say to someone, "Please repeat this so I understand you." It's a very normal thing. Gayathri, by the way, it's Gayathri.
Gayathri? Okay.
Yeah, you
sorry.
didn't know.
I'm sorry, Gayathri.
I've been meaning to tell you that for weeks now, every time she's here. You know who we did not hear from yet? Or I don't remember because I was
Kamran. He hasn't spoken yet.
Kamran. And he tries to escape speaking. He does this all the time. So I'm going to make him speak.
You're muted.
You're muted. Now you're using another excuse.
I love that you said something so pithy that we can't hear it because it's, you're doing it under mute.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Huzaifa, Gayathri, and Jeanne. Yes, there are two key words in our theme and topic today. One is, of course, awareness, and the other is power. And both are extremely correlated, because to the extent that we become aware of not only ourselves, of others, and of the environment in which we are, to that extent, we become responsible as well. And the more responsible we are, as Huzaifa was pointing out, we take responsibility and we learn from our mistakes. Then that responsibility leads to us becoming more effective. And the effectiveness part in however we behave in a particular situation is the result we achieve, the outcome we set out to accomplish. And that cannot come from nowhere. It comes from the power that we are blessed with. And power is a tricky thing in that sometimes it can get to our heads. And when we become all-knowing and all-powerful, we become demigods. And we can suffer from conditions like narcissism and arrogance and whatever else that we witness around us sometimes. So awareness really is about discovering the gifts that we were born with. And I often, when I run a program on self-improvement or leadership, I start by saying that I'm here to introduce you to yourself. And that's a tongue-in-cheek claim that I make. And you should see the expressions on the faces of people. Who is he to tell me who I am? And I start by saying that the fact of the matter is all of you here at one point or another, and Jeanne, if you remember, you mentioned, stated a quote from Daniel Goleman about emotions. And if we can't manage those distressful emotions, we can actually be highly ineffective and not achieve the kind of quality of life that we wanted. So in that, so I just say that, look, how many of you feel anger once in a while? And everyone raises their hand. How many of you are happy once in a while? And, we keep going through these primary emotions. And then I say, well, how do I know this? I know this because I'm as human as you are. And the beauty about awareness is the more you know about yourself and become more aware of your imperfections. And as Gayathri mentioned, that we need to accept our imperfections, the strengths that we possess, and the things that we, are oblivious of till someone points out. And criticism, by the way, is something that we can either respond constructively or go into a denial state, as was mentioned by Gayathri. I feel that criticism, frankly, is a breakfast for champions. And the more criticism there is, and if we can just unpack the sharp edges of that message and take the marrow from it, I think we can all gain immensely, because whatever is happening around us is feedback. And feedback is something we can gain from in terms of not only becoming more aware of what we could be doing better in order to achieve the kind of results we want, but at the same time, it also enables us to grow. And when we grow and expand into a world of possibilities, that is when we are tapping into our power. And that comes from the potential that resides in us all. And here comes the question. We all have strengths, and I often find that people acknowledge the fact that, yes, they have strengths. And then I say, you have attributes. They say, yes. I say, why don't you list them once in a while? Make a list. Just quantify them, at least the ones that are in your consciousness. And when they start doing this exercise, they discover that strengths and weaknesses are essentially our attributes being in balance or out of balance. And we all are gifted with attributes. For example, Huzaifa is a confident young man. Now, confidence is a strength, yet if it is overconfidence, it becomes a weakness. If it is underconfidence, it becomes a weakness. And if I'm talking of confidence, it's very subjective, because again, we have to understand which situation are we in. The situation determines a level of confidence that we need to display. So awareness of the scenario in which you find yourself, the analytical ability that we possess. So we can't just act out of habit. We've got to curb our habits, look at the situation, look at the person we are interacting with, and decide what is the most appropriate behavior at this point in time, in this context. And this is where I find that the sophistication, the wisdom that Huzaifa was referring to is coming, because there is no one way of dealing with a problem or a situation. And let me just say that the more you know about yourself, the more you'll realize how little you know. Because as Rumi has so often emphasized, that our reality, individual reality, is no less than that of the universe. Now, if that is true, and I believe that to be true, then can you imagine the adventure that we can have when we go into an inner journey of discovery? And every new experience that we take, every new experience that takes us out of our routine, introduces a new person within us. And for me, when I started coming on your show, Carla, for me, it was a new experience. For me, even coming on camera and being on social media was a new experience. And as a result, I have personally grown. I have become more aware, because now when I watch myself, I say, oh my God, I could have said that so much better. And in a sense, technology is also a great enabler in the domain of awareness and influence. Influence comes from the power we possess. But where does that power come from? Is it the idea we embody? Yes, some ideas are highly powerful. Do we embrace them, and do we embody them, and do we express them? And equally, the power that resides within, and the power that we have in our network. And Carla is a queen of this. I mean, if I were to count the number of people that Carla has, Carla and Friends, those friends is what gives her the power and the influence to run the kind of shows that she's running. And all of us benefit from it. Jeanne lends more air to that. And likewise, all the other partners that, Carla, you've inducted. So awareness of each other, awareness of the environment we're in, awareness of self, it's a journey that will never give us the opportunity to say, oh, I'm getting bored, I don't know what to do. When I hear people say that, I say, hold on a second. This is where the word ignorant, when Huzaifa mentioned the word ignorant, comes in. We are ignorant of the mysteries that surround us. And we need to discover those mysteries. And it is a never-ending journey. Never-ending journey. And how beautiful is that?
I'm smiling because I've been taking care of my grandsons this summer, and the seven-year-old, yeah, he continually says, I'm bored, and I have a litany. Okay, where's the book you've been reading? Have you drawn me a picture lately? You know, all these things that are not screen related, because he's trying to get me to say you can go on and play your games, and it's been an interesting power struggle between Nana Jeanne and little Jessie, because Nana Jeanne is like, you need to be out here interacting with people in the real world, and you need to balance, you know, and he's like, I'm bored, I need to play with my friends on the screen. So when you said that you hear people say, I'm bored, I'm thinking, you know, that's a person going back to their childhood and not knowing what to do or answer the question. So there's a part of me that wants to yell out, grow up, there's so much to do, but that's not my place because I'm not in charge of them, right? So all we can do is come up with nudges that would work for us. You know, when I'm bored, I like to read a book. And I've actually explained this to my grandson. I like to read a book for a particular reason. Why is that? Because it takes me away. I get to go into that book's world. It's a whole different world. And in that world, I'm omnipotent because I get to move around and see and watch how people interact in this book. I can actually figure out how characters are thinking based on how the author presents them. And I do the same with movies. So our compromise this summer has been, okay, you're bored, which movie do you want to watch? So they're going through the whole category, the whole series of Harry Potter and Jurassic Park, and we haven't quite gotten them to the Marvel movies, but there's enough movies, you know, that we can enlighten them into different worlds. Yeah, so that's my usual response is, okay, what world do you want to go into?
Yes. And Jeanne, the fact that you just touched on the book part and the reading, it just reminded me of a saying that you live as many lives as the books you read. You live as many lives as the books you read. And why do I just live my life? Why don't I also read and enter another dimension and another? And we can enrich ourselves with so many perspectives. I mean, there is this search for truth that we all have. No one is the bearer of truth. We all have a perspective on it. And the more perspectives we gain, the more we enrich ourselves. And the more we enrich ourselves, the more power we gain, power to understand the magic that we are part of. And the biggest miracle that astonishes me, the biggest miracle, we're looking for miracles. We are the miracle. And that's the strange part. We are the miracle, and we are not even fascinated by that. I mean, today there are so many documentaries out there, just on one aspect of the human anatomy. And there is so much of mystery in that, in our neurons, in our eyes. I mean, imagine a dentist in the education field. A dentist, I mean, all he or she does is opens my mouth and takes a drill in there and does something. Now, to be able to do this work, years and years of research and practice and learning just for this. And if they weren't there, God, how much anguish there would be. So there is a lot to discover and learn.
You
Thank you.
know, oh, did I cut you off, Kamran?
No, you did not. I was wanting for someone to switch me off. Otherwise, I was competing with Huzaifa. I know that if he gets going, then you can't stop him. I said, well, here is another young man.
Oh,
God.
This 11-year-old.
On the English show, often I'll say, what did you do today? And whether it's a kid or an adult, they'll say nothing special. Or they'll say nothing.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I said, oh, you did nothing. Did you wake up? Yeah. Did you open your eyes? Yeah. Did you get out of bed? Yeah. And a series of these questions. And I say, oh, but you told me you did nothing. And they said, I didn't do anything special. And I say, wow, that's interesting. There are people who don't wake up in the morning. There are people who have trouble getting out of bed, but you were able to do it. There are people who may not eat because they don't have the food to eat. Did you eat? Oh, yeah, I had a really good breakfast. The point is, we do not take notice of the very small things that make up our life and make our lives what they are.
Yes, that is awareness. Sorry, I'm cutting you. I am just saying that.
Go on, Huzaifa.
That is awareness, and that is what today's topic is, if I'm not wrong, that we need to be aware. It's not like we're not doing something special. Everything we do every day is special because we are doing it. And coming back to the criticism and knowing your power part, and that is when people say that you have made a mistake or you're wrong somewhere. So that is when you don't need to be angry or ignorant, because most of the time when people criticize us, what happens is that we probably think that who is he to tell us what to do? Why is he telling us, or why is she telling us? I don't want to be scolded, or I don't want to know anything like that. But what we need to do is that we need to know why they are scolding and what they are trying to tell us, why they are criticizing. And if we fix our mistake there and then, maybe they'll never get a chance to criticize us again. And then they'll start noticing our good deeds. So first, we need to be aware of our own mistakes and our own specialties. And I'm not talking about being special like Usain Bolt running fast and reading books and pages every day, but specialty in what you do every day in your normal life, because most people don't even have a normal life. And that's something you really need to figure out yourself. You need to be aware of that.
We need to make that a meme. Most people don't have a normal life. We all have a rare life. Is it to build on what Kamran was saying? What we don't, and actually what Carla was saying, we don't often recognize that we are walking supercomputers. If you were to talk to me about technology, I would see everybody's eyes get wide open. We are fascinated with technology, and yet we are far more complex than the biggest supercomputers out there. They're just focused on logic, machine language, processing numbers. We can do so much more. The addition of emotions to a computer, still haven't really figured that out yet, but we've got them in spades. We get up every morning and do things. And what Carla was talking about, the things that we don't notice that's called muscle memory. You wake up, you breathe. You can ride a bike, you remember how to ride a bike. You can drive a car, you remember how to drive a car. And you don't think about when you're on the bike, do I have to balance or what you need to do, because you've learned to do it and it's muscle memory. In the computer world, we call that RAM, random access memory. We have it. I often joke when I start to forget things, that the RAM is full and there's no more plug-in slots in there, because we are walking supercomputers. When we become aware, when we become aware of everything we're doing, sometimes we get overwhelmed. And I think that being self-aware is also being aware when you are overwhelmed. There's a reason we have muscle memory and we don't think about how to breathe deeply every day, because we breathe enough to live. But when you think about how to breathe deeply, then you walk into this sphere of mindfulness where you stop and you're paying attention. So we can overwhelm ourselves, or we can decide that we want to be aware and really focus on something and not overwhelm ourselves. We have an inordinate amount of power over who we are, how we show up in the world, what we're learning, how we interpret when we do something wrong or make a mistake, how we interpret that to make it better, and how we can help influence people around us. And for me, for what I did for my corporate world and now as a teacher, I think it's much more powerful for me to influence than for me to stand up and say, you have to do it this way. I want people to learn. So by influencing them on how to learn, they'll retain it a little bit more. But we get to influence by just showing up, by just being who we are, by admitting, as Carla often does, I'm struggling with this, or I really want to do this and I don't know where to start. There's lots of things that we can become aware of and then build, because we have a power. And I'm going to butcher it again. It's one of my favorite sayings, but I butcher it every time. But it's basically Marianne Williamson saying, that we're more fearful of the power we have than of everything else. And then the question is, who are you to hide that power? So self-awareness means recognizing that we have a choice in everything we do. We have a choice, and it's a binary choice. Do it this way or do it that way. Do I want to breathe today or do I not? There's some dire consequences based on that choice, right? Do I want to eat a bagel today or do I want to go gluten-free and have eggs? Your body's going to react a certain way. Everything we do, there's a binary choice. So that's why I say easily, we are supercomputers. We're making binary choices at every nano, micro, zippity doodah, tiny little second, every millisecond. We are making choices. And our power comes in how we make the correct choices for us. I will tell you, I argue with my son sometimes because the correct choice that I think for him may not be the correct choice for him. And as we became more, instead of mother-son, more like adult mother-son, so that we're more on an equal footing, I've learned to listen and see that he knows things that I don't know. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? But he's a person in his own right. He gets to make his choices. He gets to decide what happens with my grandchildren, and I have to accept it. And that became, instead of a power struggle, it was a power choice. And that, if there's one message about finding ourselves, becoming self-aware, it's the power of choice. We get to choose. We get to either act or react. Sometimes it's with emotion, sometimes it's with logic, but it's very powerful. We are the most powerful miracles walking on earth, each and every one of us.
And that's because we can think. I mean, my cats do crazy things, but they don't think about what they're going to do. They don't think, oh, this will make mommy laugh, so I will go and chase the other cat around and drive her nuts. It does drive the other cat nuts, but it happens automatically and it happens without thought. Whereas we have this computer within ourselves that we don't use every day. It's just sitting there because we decide that, because Jeanne told me I shouldn't do MindPlore every week. I listen to Jeanne and I get real upset because I'm not doing it. I've decided, no, I'm not going to listen to her. I'm going to keep it going. In fact, it was exactly the opposite. I was going through a period that I thought maybe I should just stop it for a little while. And Jeanne said to me, but it sparks a light in you. Why would you do that? Well, no one's watching. And she said, do you do it for the audience or do you do it for yourself? And the answer was, I do it because I like to do it. And I kept doing it. Kamran, you look like you have something burning in your head. I don't know what it is.
I'm the only thing that's burning in my head right now is honesty. Honesty from a standpoint of being honest with ourselves. And when we are being honest with ourselves, we must acknowledge that we are imperfect. We must acknowledge that we are prone to error. To err is human and to forgive is divine. We must be honest enough to recognize the strengths that we possess. And this honesty is the best policy, I feel, is applying more to the individual, to me, with myself, as opposed to being honest just with others. Because at times when we are honest with others, we forget the respectfulness part. And to be honest in a respectful way is crucial. And I find that we are at times too hard on ourselves and we punish ourselves for having done something which we are either embarrassed by or are ashamed of. I don't feel that we should be harsh with ourselves in our honesty. We must incorporate that respect and reverence for the life that we possess and for the gifts and that the kind of power that we are blessed with to make a difference not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those we come across. The fact that we can make someone smile, we can just stroke the head of a child and create a sense of joy in the person, that is power. And by using power in a positive way, we can make a lot of difference, one person at a time. It's not about the world. It's about changing the world of an individual. How about that? I mean, this is where that power is. And it has to be used wisely. Otherwise, it can lead to a lot of divisiveness and heartbreaks that we often witness around us across the globe. And that power struggle that we witness is essentially stemming from ignorance as opposed to awareness. I am 100% convinced that when people become aware of their foolishness, they then take steps towards wisdom.
I like that. And the other thing that we forget often is that we are not perfect. The other day, I'm not sure what day, but I was able to find it quickly on my timeline. I put up a quote by Kerry Washington, and it goes, I realize that I don't have to be perfect. All I have to do is show up and enjoy the messy, imperfect, and beautiful journey of my life. This is not just Kerry Washington. I say this every day on the English show. You don't need to speak perfect English. You come and you speak. And I repeat it every day, and people are still saying, I don't want to come live with you because I'm going to make a mistake. How are you ever going to get over your life and do anything new if you're always worried about making a mistake? You're stuck. I would rather make the mistake every day that, and I do, I called this almost an English show today. Only because I'm used to doing that more than MindPlore still. I still do the show more than MindPlore. But it's a mistake. Who really cares? I'm the only one who really cares. Kamran doesn't care. Huzaifa doesn't care. Jeanne doesn't. And Gayathri doesn't care. They just kind of laugh at me and wonder when am I going to get the right name out. I mean, seriously, it comes down to that. But we all make mistakes and we're all imperfect, but that imperfection makes us who we are. And it makes us the wonder we are. Huzaifa, you wanted to say something.
No, Gayathri wanted to say. After Huzaifa, we wanted to hear from Gayathri as well. She was going to say something.
Yeah, guys, she didn't say, because I can't see her. It's hard to know that. Remember,
no problem. No problem at all. Let's listen to Huzaifa speak, and then I'll share my thoughts.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't see you.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Huzaifa, speak, please.
So I was just saying that as Ms. Jeanne said, that we are greater than computers. We can imagine that by knowing that a human is someone that created a computer. I know we cannot send messages as fast as the computers or mobile phones, but we are the ones that programmed or created or made the phone
Oh no.
He was making a very good point.
I know he's going to be coming back. Gayathri, talk, and when he comes back, we'll get back to him.
Okay. So, Carla, I was going to piggyback on the topic of us being harshest on ourselves.
Yes.
What happens is when someone else does something to us, when someone else wrongs us in any way, we are the bigger person to forgive that person because forgive is divine. So we all think of ourselves as divine and we're the bigger people there. But when it comes to forgiving ourselves, I think we take more time to forgive ourselves than we do to forgive other people. Because in our head, we have this image of this perfect person that we are, only to realize that how could I? It is easy to forgive other people. It is very difficult to forgive ourselves. And that is why I think Kamran is right that sometimes we need to give a little space to ourselves as well as human beings, that it's okay, we can do these things.
That's very true. I think forgiveness is an important part of our power, and to forgive ourselves is probably the most difficult because it's covered by so many different emotions. I recall a lesson, I don't remember where I got it from, but I recall getting a very clear message that forgiveness was for me, not for the other person. Because when I forgave the other person, I let go of the emotions that were blocking me. And when we learn that that is in our power to allow allow ourselves to forgive ourselves as well as the other person, it opens up a huge block of emotions that allows us to let go. Once we let go, we can move forward. Once we let go of something like, I'm so angry with my sister because blah, blah, blah. Well, 5 years from now, we're not going to remember it, but we're going to remember the 5 years we didn't talk to each other. But we're going to go, what was that about? So it's a very wise person told me once when my son was a baby, I had a problem at work, and she came in and she goes, I want you to do something. Take this picture of your son, because of course, as a new mother, I had pictures everywhere. She goes, hang it on the back of your wall, back of your door. And when you close the door, when you're upset and you close the door, you look up at that picture of your son and you say, how will this affect him in 5 years? And that puts instant perspective. You can be mad at work, you can be mad at somebody, but when you look at your kid and you think 5 years from now, how's this going to affect him? The power goes away from that anger, and you just feel yourself go, whew, you let it go. And you forgive yourself for being angry. And then that leads the door open to something to bring it all the way back to the beginning, where we look at what was this? Where's the lesson? Where's the lesson and how do we grow? And that's where the wisdom comes in. That's where our own personal power, that self-awareness and our own personal power comes in. When we have that longer term perspective, so that emotional, short-term jolt of electricity, if you will, is dissipated. So we can forgive ourselves, we can forgive our colleagues, and that frees us. Would you agree? Huzaifa, welcome back. You were in the middle of making a very important point. We'd like to get back to that.
My laptop ran out of charging and I didn't know that. Where was I? Yeah, I was just saying that we are the ones that made I think I was there. We were the ones that make mobile phones and the computers work the way they do. So we should never go up and say the computer is really intelligent, or someone is going further, or we are not as good as someone, or we are not as good as something. Because if someone or something is doing something better than us, we need to make ourselves aware that what is something that we are doing that they can do. We need to strike positivity in ourselves, because as we all experience in the world, most people point out negativity and mistakes more than your positivity in the start. So you need to be yourself and make yourself aware and take out the positivity and what you want and be aware of yourself. Then the people will start being influenced by you, because just be yourself. If you admire someone so much that you're trying to become like them, and in doing that you just do whatever they do, people are not gonna admire you, or even you yourself, a part of you wouldn't be satisfied, because you would be just copying and becoming them. It won't be like you are becoming yourself. Even if you are bad or ugly or whatever, you need to strike in and see what you are good in, what you have the good abilities in. So you need to be aware of everything in you. Then after that, you can start focusing and worrying about other people and other responsibilities. First, be responsible for yourself.
It's very, very wise.
Yeah, extremely wise. I don't know your parents. I would love to meet them, because I know in my life, when I was your age, I was being told I can't do that, I can do this, and blah, blah, blah. And it helped me lose a lot of confidence. Whereas I really believe when you are raising a child, you need to allow the child to be who he or she is. Yes, correct some mistakes. I mean, if you put your child is going to put his hand on an open flame, you better say something. Or ride on a bike on a very busy street, something needs to be said. But for some of the very basic things about life, it's important to allow the child to grow in the way the child will grow. Kamran, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I was nodding my head because I noticed that in the magic of the moment, we lost track of time. I was seeing that it's almost 10:30, and that's basically it.
Well, thank you for reminding me. I
We were
actually
flowing.
would have rather have gotten that in a message, but I got it as I did. And I know that you need to be gone
Yeah.
close to time. So I think it is time to go and hear what final words people want to say. I think I want to start with Gayathri. Gayathri?
Thank you, Carla. I think my final words would be awareness is knowing what is right with us and where we need to improve. I think Jean would approve of this particular word of how we can become a better version of ourselves. And it's okay to make mistakes. Just forgive yourself. You deserve your own forgiveness. That is all.
Thank you, Huzaifa.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well said.
And my last words are just going to be for today, that I want to tell you a way to be aware. That in a week, I know most of you are very busy, but just take a week of your life and assign 7 tasks to do all the 7 days. Like write one day, read a book one day, or do some chores one day, or play something one day. So do these things, assign these tasks, and make a sort of timetable that what you want to do. And you will realize, if you pay attention, that in this 1 week you are going to find out who you really are. This is a way, this is a technique to be aware and find out what your passion and what you really want to do is. Because when we are doing something we really like, there isn't just a one thing. Like if someone likes reading, they might also like writing, but they don't know what to carry on their most of their lives with, and they have to choose one option. So this is something you need to do in order to gain success and in order to do something in your life.
Thank you. Very good knowledge. Jeanne?
Well, I think we've covered quite a wide swath of wisdom that brings us to self-awareness. But I would like to go back to be honest with you, to the Ann Landers. Don't accept your dog's admiration as conclusive evidence that you are wonderful. I think we have to continually work at becoming self-aware so that, as Deepak Chopra said, we can be the owners of reality. We become the master of both our inner and our outer life. And understanding the difference of our inner life and our outer life and the similarities is a great step towards finding the balance that we're always talking about that we want.
Thank you. I like that. Kamran, I called on you last for a reason.
Thank you. You know that your potential is infinite. Ask yourself, then why is your life so finite? What stops you? And I think asking what stops you is the beginning of breaking out of that shell of comfort and getting into those moments of that will essentially help us to break through from the trap that we have created for ourselves. Thank God, when we were in our mother's womb, we were very comfortable. And we yelled, we cried when we came out, because then we became aware that now we have to chew with our teeth, use our hands, walk with our legs. And we are constantly trying to look for a womb. And once we get functional and we start earning, we get into that comfort. And constantly expanding that comfort zone is essentially a function of greater awareness of self. And why not expand your possibilities in the moments that you have instead of living a life of regret?
Thank you. And I guess I need to say something.
Yes, of course.
I think it's really important that we take time for ourselves for a few minutes every day. I suggest early morning because it'll help develop your day. If we come into the day listening to all the yucky news or things that are negative, it puts us in a negative state. And we're not looking at who we are. But if we take the time and put ourselves in a situation where we are going to be thinking positively, then it allows us to connect with our true source and become who we are. I want to thank everyone who was on the panel today. Kamran, thank you so very much. Huzaifa, thank you. Gayathri, we can't see you, which makes it real difficult for me. Thank you. And Jeanne, I know we're not going to see you regularly, but I know that I will be talking to you about topics probably more than you want to, but we'll be talking. And thank you for all you've done for the show. And I will be waiting for the days that you are not in school, so you can come back and practice with us. Help us.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody who's watching to please visit us on the page MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and subscribe and like, and also visit
the page.
University.
Oh, you're talking Facebook. Go on.
Yeah, that's on Facebook. And also visit YouTube, Gigglefest University, and subscribe and comment and like to help Carla build her audience and get this out more. The more interactions you can do with the YouTube page, the more the algorithm will get it out for us.
And I am up to 489 subscribers. I would love to get it.
Let's make it 600.
Okay, I was going to say 500 by the weekend, but I would rather it be 600.
Well, we're going to stretch. Yes.
Let's go for the 1,000.
There you go.
Let's go for the 1,000 that I need in order to help keep the show on air. So guys, if you like the show and you find value to it, go to the YouTube page and subscribe.
Just want to say that when you reach 1K, I think you know that you will receive a silver play button from YouTube. So when we reach that, hopefully, I want you to hang that on the wall behind, so we can see it every day and appreciate the achievement that we reach with the shows and sessions.
Okay, so will you guys who are here today, including Gayathri, who I can't see, make sure you put that out on your timeline and ask people to subscribe. because it really would be a great help to me in more ways than you know. And with that, let's wave goodbye. No one
Bye.
yet. And we'll
Since I'm not visible, I'm going to just give a verbal wave to everyone.
Gayathri, wait a moment, because we're going off. And right now,